Hey, everybody. Michelle is back. Today is actually a Thursday, February 2nd. Wow. It's, it's something else about about what's going on and how, the weather is so weird in certain places. But whatever. We're not going to get into all of that right now. It is what it is. And, we're going to have to I saw a lot of people say this all the time, and I'll mention it. It says, there's consequences. There's going to be consequences for your this, mostly consequences for your behavior. And, how often is that followed through and people walk the talk in those regards? I would say rarely, because we love to talk, unfortunately. But a lot of people hate to walk the talk or do not walk the talk. We just like to always give out all this lovely and, ego-based advice to people, telling people how to live and how to act and how to carry on. And we don't walk the talk at all, So let's talk about morality. What do you think about morality? What I'm learning about morality, because, let me tell you about myself. I don't worry so much about words per se. I just act the best way I can. And what it's called is whatever it's called. To me, it's called being a human being. A human being that's doing the best she can to be an upstanding, loving, compassion, but yes, walk the talk type of woman. I walk the talk. And I think a lot of people that know me understand that. And I take responsibility and accountability for my behavior and my actions. But, morality. No, so whatever I understand about morality is a set of standards of how you're supposed to conduct your behavior. Right? Now, who discovers what's moral and what's non-moral or unmoral? That's a good question. I mean, do we need moral polices? In other words, do we need people to police us even more about how to handle ourselves? Or as human beings, can we not understand that on our own, through our own thinking as to how to act? I don't know why that would be a difficult task in being a human being, in knowing how to behave and how to act and how to treat people. We ought to not ever get to a point to where we have to threaten people about how they're supposed to act and how they're supposed to behave and say, or there are consequences, that you will face consequences. That sounds very extreme, of course, when people, because it is a threatening tone to say, okay, if you don't act a certain way, this and that is going to happen to you. And that's fine. I mean, like I said, for people like myself, that shit goes in my ear and out my ear because I know how to act and I know how to behave. But unfortunately, we have these sociopath, narcissistic, they were usually in leadership positions, they are barking out all these orders and demands on how people are supposed to act. But if the cameras were turned on them, instead of them spying on everybody else, if the cameras were turned and spying on them, you'll always find a contradiction. I can guarantee you almost 100% of the time you'll find contradictions because they're acting so irrational and illogical and feel as though they are the moral police as to how people are supposed to behave. Okay, so what I'm understanding about morality is that's an individual standard of behavior that an individual chooses to comply to and be held accountable and responsible for. Okay, they don't need, with their morals, it's a self-determination as to how I'm going to behave. And if I do not behave in such the manner that I choose, without coercion, without influencing, without convincing me and persuading, then I will reap what I've sown. It's a cause and effect, and it's going to affect me. Okay, so to have someone come in, however, and tell you how you're supposed to morally behave, that's stretching it a bit, because your morals and standards, as I said, is individual. You, the individual, decide how you want to act and behave, and you will be facing the consequences otherwise. Of course, there's behavior that's considered degenerate and criminal. Okay, and we know what those behaviors are. Okay, we know it very well. But we like to always twist things and confuse the things, and the morals start getting so personal, like worrying about who somebody's fucking, okay, and who's in someone's bedroom, okay, someone's freedom of sexual expression. We love to go into those arenas of how people are supposed to behave and act. But again, like I said, if the cameras were turned on those moral police officers, or also known as self-proclaimed leaders, authorities, whatever, professionals, intellectuals, I don't know, whatever you're proclaiming yourself to, religious leaders, I don't know, whatever you can proclaim yourself to be, where you are pointing and telling people how they're supposed to act and behave, when you are a contradiction, if the cameras are facing you and spying on you. Okay, so morals are a self-determining factor as how an individual chooses to behave. And if they were to disregard those, decisions they made for themselves, then that's on them. The consequences are on them. And the same thing is with these so-called self-proclaimed experts and leaders. You suffer the consequences as well. Okay, cause and effect that affects you as well. Okay, when you're lying, being deceptive, and don't practice what you preach, it affects you as well. So, as we continue this journey through the lives of irrelevancy, which allows us to pretend we don't understand the dangers we're facing with our climate, our infrastructure, as we continue those journeys of blindness, and worrying so much about who's in everybody's bedroom, what people are saying in their private homes, what people are saying in their lyrics, what people are saying in their words, We are responsible for the consequences of our behaviors individually, absolutely. That's part of being a humane human being, which we fail to consider. We fail to consider that. We rather worry about, as I said, who's in someone's bedroom, okay, what people are talking about in private circles, what people are saying. We'd rather do that than take responsibility and be held accountable and facing the consequences. You will reap what you've sown. That's neutral. So all this rambling and passing judgment on people on how they're supposed to act, and you being so concerned about it, especially when there's consenting adults, and you're not worried about the protection of our children from these sociopaths, psychopaths, and narcissistic people, like having adult men or just adults in general, approaching young children and, asking inappropriate questions of them and the parents stand by and don't see a problem with that. You know, reap what you've sown. Okay, don't complain about it. Don't complain about the results when you like to stand on the sidelines and be cheerleaders. You know, you want to be cheerleaders, standing on the sidelines and not getting your hands dirty and feel as though that is okay as well. Cause and effect. It's the boomerang. Peace and love.